fixing each other's problems. Please wind down. Hey, hey. Me and my girl crying down. And that's why we're fixing each other's problems. Please wind down. Hey, hey. Me and my girl just wind down. And that's why we're fixing each other's problems. Please wind down. Hey, hey. Me and my girl just wind down. And that's why we're fixing each other's problems. Please wind down. What's up, everybody? It is your leader, Lady Tierra Hill, and you are tuned in to the Queen's Wind Down. Welcome, 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 welcome. And if this is your second time chiming in, welcome back. To all of my first-time listeners, if you don't know me, again, my name is Tierra Hill. I am your leading lady and host of the Queen's Wind Down. Shout out to everybody in Facebook world, in cyber world, right? So shout out to everybody in Facebook world. Shout out to everybody that's on the Tierra Hill YouTube channel. And shout out to my Twitchers on Twitch TV. I am so excited about today's show. Today, I'm talking Black authors, not just Black authors, Black female authors. I am excited. I am excited. I am excited. So today's show is going to be dope. It's going to be full of conversation. I can't wait to chop it up with three phenomenal queens who just happen to be authors. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome my first guest. She comes all the way in from Phoenix, Arizona. She is a femc, a hip-hop artist, and now she is an author as well. She goes by the name of Pasha Chaney. Hey, Pasha.
Hey, hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good, good. Thank you, Queen, for joining us.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so
I
welcome.
am excited to talk about your book. Your book.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rising from Cancer.
Yes. Thank you.
So
First,
excited about that. So we're going to get into it. But
okay.
Before we get into it, I want to introduce my next guest. My next guest is a songbird who comes from a royal, honey, and sanctified family of bishops, pastors, singers, and songwriters. She is an author, and I am so excited, queens and kings, to welcome none other than author Amelia C.C.K. Foster. C.C.
Hey, Tierra.
How are you?
I am doing good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Happy to have you. I am so happy to have you. Girl, we're going to get into it. I'm talking about scattered but not broken, honey.
Yes, it's something to get into.
Yes, we're going to get right into it after
I
introduce my next guest. My next guest comes from Baltimore. She is also part of a royal first family. She's a minister. She's also a business owner and a makeup artist and now author. Kings, queens, and kings, help me welcome Tierra A. Tuggle, author.
Hey,
Tierra A.
Tierra.
Tuggle.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Tara. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm excited. I am just so excited and honored to have you queens on the Queen's Wind Down to talk about your journey as authors. This is your book, Finding Peace by Peace. I am excited. I am excited to talk about it because your books, transparent, honest, real, raw. And it was a lot of vulnerability. You ladies were vulnerable writing these books.
Yes.
With so many different emotions. I think when I read each and every one of your books, I cried, I laughed. I was just in awe of your transparency. You get what I'm saying? And I guess the audience and the guests will understand better once we start talking about it. Pasha, I wanted to begin with you.
Okay.
Your book, phenomenal book.
Thank you.
Through the Scars, Rising from Cancer. Because as you all see, all of us ladies have on some type of shade of pink. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Yes. I'm representing it in the back. And like I said, we have on pink. But because we are in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, your book, Pasha, and I had the honor of writing, I guess it would be, it's not the forward. What did I write, Pasha?
Actually, you contributed to the endorsement on the back of the book.
Your book. Yes. I was actually able to endorse your book, and I want to read what I said. Through the Scars, Rising from Cancer exemplifies courage, determination, and resilience. Queen Pasha's journey is encouraging the masses and giving others hope. Her honesty and transparency are unfiltered and outstanding. I suggest every cancer patient and survivor read this book to empower and uplift themselves while fighting daily to live. This book is a reminder that you too can rise from cancer. Let's get into it, Queen. I want to talk about the day you were diagnosed, the day your world was shook.
Yes.
Can you take us there, Pasha?
Yes, that was Thursday, January 16th, 2020. I don't think anyone will ever forget the day that they're diagnosed with cancer. That's a date that will forever be sketched into my mind. I was hurt. I was shocked. I was scared. I had so many different emotions that went through my mind that day I was diagnosed. And of course, the first thing you think is, am I going to die? What's going to happen to me? And so all those things came about after my diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. And because as I read your book, because as when I introduced you, I said that you were a FemC, a hip hop artist. So you literally went from making music, recording, traveling to being diagnosed with cancer. And I want to kind of talk about your mindset throughout this journey. When I look at the different chapters in your book, Rising from the Unknown, you talked about being diagnosed. You talked about telling your family. Chapter 2, Rising from the Negative Thoughts, thinking the worst and thinking, why did this happen to me? You talked about in chapter 3, rising from anxiety. Anxiety regarding your caregivers, regarding your job status, rising from worry. Queen, you talked about it all in your book. And so for me, I can only imagine the mindset of the day when you woke up and said, okay, I got to write this book. How did this book come about?
Well, initially, I didn't think of the book until I started my radiation and chemo treatment. I had to actually process it all because, like you said, I was in the middle of recording, and I've, been a writer, artist for a long time, and so it just totally threw me for a loop. I didn't initially take it very well because I was like, this is just another setback in my life, inconvenience, something that, I don't want to have to deal with. Why did it happen? I'm so young. I'm in my 30s. I have a 6-year-old daughter. All those things went through my mind. But as I started to gain more strength and God really started to just make me feel loved, even regardless of what was going on, then I started to feel the strength to want to write the book because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to let this happen to me. And I'm not going to share my story and try to encourage other people. I'm not going to be weak. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to ask God to help me through this.
Right. And I think that was courage, not only courage, but faith and determination. And I want to kind of talk to you, CC, Amelia,
because fine.
Your book, your book, Shattered but Not Broken. Give us a little rundown of your book without telling the audience what the book is, because I really want all of the audience to purchase you Queen's books.
Okay.
I want to talk about your book.
Okay. So it's a very small portion of my life from childhood to adulthood. I went through some childhood trauma. I went through some adult trauma, and I went through the worst marriage that I could possibly think of for myself. And it spiraled me into a deep, deep depression, to where, and I was born and raised in the church, PK, all that. Raised singing in the choir, directing the choir, over the choir, leading songs, praising, all that. And I still am. But, it sent me into a deep depression, and it also sent me into where I was losing faith in God. I was going down a dark path. I felt like I lost my connection to God. I couldn't even pray anymore. I told my mom I leaned only on her prayers, only, because it sent me that far deep into it until I had to literally climb myself out of that.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because as I was reading your book, Drifting Away and Being Restored, being a pro dater, and I kind of wanted to talk about that because you come from a royal first family, right? And so dating and growing up in the church was probably, I thought, or maybe considered limited for you. But when I read this chapter, being a pro dater, can you emphasize on that for us, Queen?
Yes, I called it being a pro dater because I was dating a lot. During just a short period of a couple years, I was dating a lot. I came from being in a long-term relationship with somebody, like off and on. We were in a long-term off and on relationship. When I was decided to be done with that relationship because I wanted something more and I wanted something different, I had to go into dating mode. And personally, I really don't like dating, to be upfront. I don't like dating. I like relationship, but I don't like dating. I don't like the beginning stages. I feel like you're on an interview all the time. So I really don't like dating, but I knew I had to date in order to find what I wanted. So I was going on dates. I was just like being a pro dater. I was dating a lot.
That's cool, especially as a young single woman who doesn't have any children, right? I think that if I was single, I probably would like the speed dating, just to, kind of see. So when I read this, being a pro dater, I kikied a little bit, because I just couldn't imagine, after reading the chapter, I'm like, okay, like I get it now. But then you went on to talk about the engagement. Then you went on to talk about the wedding day. Then the honeymoon nightmare.
The nightmare.
The honeymoon nightmare.
Nightmare.
And then you talked about my faith has failed. And I'm going to go past one because I want to come back. Planning my escape. And unmarry me, please.
Please. I never thought I would be.
For you, coming from the church. Because, divorce isn't.
Well, let me be clear. I never got a divorce. I got an annulment. I got an annulment. Yes. I just want that to be clear. Not that anything is wrong with divorce, but that was just the issue between that person. It was never a divorce. It was annulment, because you have to literally be married. And if you read the book, you'll know what I'm saying, to get a divorce. And we got an annulment. But I never thought I would be as happy to get unmarried as I was as happy to get married.
Well, I'm going to come back to you because I want to talk about the vulnerability in writing this book, but I need to get to Tierra Tuggle.
Okay.
Finding peace, piece by piece. T.
Ma'am.
Finding peace, piece by piece. I have the honor of hosting your book release and your Q&A. It was very, 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 very ironic that you, too, are a PK's kid.
Yes.
And you are a minister.
Yes.
Right? And so I want to talk, because this is one of my favorite parts of the book, which is your forward. I gotta read what my friends said. Pastor Brenda A. Tuggle said, every parent hopes for the best for their children and strives to be the best parent possible, loving them, providing for them, and praying for them. Unfortunately, no matter how good of a parent you think you are and how hard you try, you may miss some things along the way. For example, I was very adamant about teaching my daughter never to stay in a physically abusive relationship because as a child, I watched my mother endure that. So I was determined never to endure that and made sure I instilled that in my daughter. To my dismay, I was so busy focusing on the physical abuse that I failed to recognize the verbal and emotional abuse. Hold on. She says, whatever parenting mistakes I may have made, you know, that'll preach, honey.
Yes.
Parenting mistakes I may have made. I find consolation in knowing that I raised Tierra in the admonition of the Lord. T,
Yes.
you came out with a book basically telling the world how you endured an emotional abusive relationship, not only as a Black woman, but as a preacher's kid.
Yes. Yes.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Let's talk about it. Yes. Everyone is shocked because I hit it so well, you know, because that's what we kind of do. That's what we're taught to do in a sense. You know, you don't show what you're going through, so you kind of hide it and you keep it inside, and that's dangerous. That's the dangerous part about it. So at some point I realized I had to get it out. So it started with therapy. I went to therapy, and then once I completed that, then I started writing, and that was therapeutic as well. So, and I still get calls today, like literally today after church, someone came up to me and said, thank you, because my daughter reached out to me and said, and who also is a PK, I need to talk to someone because I have some things that I've been hiding that I need to release and, and let others know. So, yes.
Well, listen, because I went over everybody else's chapters. We're going to go over your chapters. Minister / PK kid. In my Cardi B voice.
In my Cardi B voice.
Be careful with me.
Yes.
Comparison kills.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite chapters. Beautiful barbed wire.
Yeah.
Well, let me say it right because y'all know I'm country. Beautiful barbed wire. Trading places. Growing pains. No new friends. Why not? In the book, you talked about wearing the crown.
Yes.
And heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Yes.
I think that's what you said, right?
Yes. Yes. Shakespeare.
But this is what you also said underneath that, heavy is the head that wears the crown. You said, but who said I wanted the crown?
Who said? Wasn't me.
And so I want to pause right there with you because, Pasha, as I think about your journey, going through cancer and surviving, and do you feel like that too was a crown? Like something that God gave you, so that you could go through it, because couldn't nobody go through it like Pasha went through it. A lot, and I ask that because a lot of times when we go through things, the first thing we say is, why me?
Of course.
And a lot of times when you're anointed, like these ladies are, right? We understand that in order for the olive to produce oil, it has to be crushed first. So when we go through, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
At any time for you, Pasha, and even with that statement, heavy is the head that wears the crown, but you didn't ask for the crown. Did you have one of those moments to where you just wanted to throw in the towel?
Oh, of course. I mean, naturally speaking, when you get diagnosed with cancer, I mean, it's a very devastating thing. So you can only look at it from the spiritual side if you want to make it through.
And you're very spiritual, might I add.
I am.
Very
And I'm
cool.
a PK's kid too.
I
So,
Wow.
so it's a connection all the way around on
Wow.
this
You know
interview.
what? See, I didn't know that, but let me tell
Yeah.
you what I do know. I do know that you're very, very spiritual because I really connect with spiritual people, and we're kindred, right?
Yes,
And
kindred
so
spirits.
it's crazy to me because I never knew that.
Yes,
So I
yes,
got all PK kids on.
yes,
Wow.
yes, you do.
Wow.
So yeah, I didn't want the crown. I mean, I looked at it as something, as a burden at first, a thorn in my side that I asked God to remove. You know, I didn't want the mental and emotional effects of cancer. I didn't want any of that. But then as I started to really search the word, and I did a lot of fasting and praying, and God just had to walk me through it because that's the only way I was able to accept it. And I said, if God has put this in my path, then I'm able to endure it. I know I am.
Absolutely. And that's what I loved about each and every one of you Queens books, because although you told your story, it was a lot of glory in the stories. Like in the beginning, some moments were dark. And I think people don't realize that just because we proclaim to love God and He is Lord of our life, it does not make us exempt from going through the wilderness.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? I'll never forget when they found the tumors in my breast, right? And so for me, I was young. I was like in my 20s.
Wow.
And they would not give me a mammogram because they felt like I was too young. And so the insurance company kept denying me. But my doctor, who I love still to this day, Dr. Pasha, fought for me, and he reworded it from mammogram to breast ultrasound, and that's how they found my tumor. Wow. But when they found the tumor, I'll never forget it. And Pasha, you're absolutely right. You never forget that day. But I never forget the radiation guy. Oh my goodness. He was so horrible and mean. I mean, y'all know I don't cry because I'm tough. I'm flipped up. But that man made me cry. He was like, you're going to die. I know you felt that tumor in your breast. You're going to die. And it took everything in me not to punch him, right? But I was so devastated by the news that I was just like inconsolable. Like you really. And so I remember putting on my big girl panties because as Black women, we still going to make it do what it do. No matter the diagnosis, no matter what they say, no matter how many hurdles they put in our way. And I left there and I went to the grocery store and I was shopping. And every corner I turned, I heard the devil say, you know, I'm going to kill you, right? Every corner. And I had to literally come back and with the word. Yeah. By his stripes, I'm healed. And from that moment on, my mindset changed. I was like, I'm never going to say I have this disease. I'm never claiming this disease. And when my mindset changed, I remember going to my doctor's appointments and being in there ministering to other people. Because no matter how worse you got it, it's always somebody worse off than you.
That's true.
You get what I'm saying? And so I think a lot of times, and Tierra, you said it, you hid it. Why is it that we hide the stuff that we go through as believers? Is it because we're embarrassed? Why did you hide it, Tierra? And Cece, I'm gonna come back to you too, because I want to know why. I got a question for you.
For me, I think it was more so to protect my parents. It wasn't even about me. It was because I didn't want them to look bad. So that I know that's what it was for me. Yes.
So you hid it. And this is what I mean when I say we lead and we bleed at the same damn time.
Yes.
I mean that. Because we literally lead and we literally bleed at the same time. And that was so selfless of you to think of everyone else. You know, I know what it's like. You know what I'm saying? Because I too come from where y'all come from. And I know how you have to, you don't let everybody know your business.
That's right.
What you're going through ain't nobody's business. And so, which brings me to you, Cece. You had to keep a secret. How hard was that for you?
You talking about the marriage part?
Yes.
Oh man, it was tough because I felt like I was by myself. And a lot of times I was by myself. Although my mom, being the spiritual person that she is, she said she knew from day one something wasn't right. She said she knew the next day after my wedding, I called her and she said, "Baby, what's wrong?" And I, "Oh, nothing, nothing." She said she knew right then
We
something was
always
wrong.
know.
She knew. And then from that time on, and every time, she said even she look at my pictures on Facebook, and she said I had zombie eyes. I just, like, all the life was just sucked out of me. But I hid it. We've always been taught not to let people in your marriage. And I still agree to that to a certain point. I do agree to that.
Absolutely.
You don't let people in. But at the point that I was in, I was drowning, and I should have reached out long before I did.
What did you think people would say about you once you went to your leaders and to your family to say, look, I don't want to be married no more because he don't like me?
He don't like me or my kind at all.
Right.
But I honestly, in the beginning, I'm thinking, well, because I didn't know that part until it was like
Okay,
close
so
to the
stop
end.
right there, because
Yeah.
here's the thing. I need for y'all to get these Queens books, because let me tell you something. These stories are real. They are raw.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's like to marry someone and to find out that they're not into women. And that's what we're talking about. So when you found out, because you didn't know that at the beginning.
I didn't know all the way to the end. We had other issues that was killing us, because of that, though.
You are a believer. There was no sex before marriage.
No, we didn't have sex before. Although I'm not, I'm not innocent. I wasn't a virgin when I got married. But we decided. I don't want anybody to think nothing
I wasn't
differently.
a virgin neither, honey.
I'm just saying. I don't want anybody thinking I got a halo on all the time. I'm just saying.
And if y'all, hold on, let me look into the camera. And if anybody got a problem with her saying that, come and see me. Because I cuss. I'm the saint that cuss. But anyway, okay, now let's get back to you.
Now, so yes, ma'am.
Because you did it the biblical way. This is the point that I want to make. Because you did it the biblical way, there was no sex before marriage.
Exactly.
So you had no idea that he wasn't attracted to women but to men.
I had no idea.
So
none whatsoever.
Leaders, what was their thoughts? I'm not going to mention your leaders, but I love your leaders.
Oh, I love them too. My leader, once we realized what it was, he said, "Oh, daughter." That's what we call daughter. I release his exact words was, "I release you from that marriage."
Okay.
Those were his words. Because he said you had no idea that's what you were signing up for. Nobody had the idea.
Here's my problem with all of that. Nobody ain't saying that you can't like what you like. Like what you like. Have what you have. Believe me about it.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
Don't drag me into it.
But see, that's where the myth, and it's so crazy to me, because reading this, and that's why I told you I had a hard time reading it, because you're the baby, right? And it was just crazy to me because it went back into the era of the down low brother. We really don't talk about it anymore because society has embraced homosexuality. So we really don't. Now we call it what is it? Bisexual, trisexual? What is it? Bisexual. It's bisexual. So we don't call it DL no more. But it's a DL. It's a low down dirty demon.
Right.
Because you can like what you like.
And I'm with you on that.
Right.
I'm totally with you on that. I have my beliefs, other people have their beliefs, but the God I serve gives you the option to choose your lifestyle, and so do I. What you do is your business, and I'm gonna love you anyways.
Right. So, and I want to talk about, since we're talking about relationships and going through Pasha. I'm sorry, because it's so much like passion.
I know.
Because it's so much like passion. Pasha, during your journey throughout going through chemo, because you said your daughter is 6 years old.
She just turned 7.
She just turned 7. She's
Yes.
gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
You know, I
Thank
have
you.
all boys, and I really want a little girl, so you can send her to me
Oh,
anytime.
I may take you up on that.
Okay, honey. We pick everything. I'm a girl's girl, but I gotta be rough for the boys.
Yeah.
How did you explain to her your diagnosis?
First, I wrote about this in the book. I didn't explain the C word to her.
Uh-huh.
I didn't, because that's a little too complex. I talked
Mhm.
more about the tumor. And I talked about how my appearance would change after surgery. I didn't want her to be scared. I told her that I would be weak some days and I may be tired, but once I get strong and get better, we would get back to doing the things that she was used to doing, because she had to process all of this too. And
That's a lot for a
of,
7-year-old.
of
She
course.
was 6 at the time. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And me being a single mom, she just knows that it's me and her. So her whole life, is attached to me and my energy and my productivity with her. And so that took a toll on her. I had to talk to her. I talked to her every week just to see how she was feeling. If she was scared, worried, I always reassured her. I just wanted her to know that no matter what, that I was going to get through this and that I loved her.
Listen, how was your village? How was your support system? Because I know when my executive assistant, when Carmen got diagnosed, we were literally filling in a calendar to be her support system. Like, who's taking her to chemo today? Who's doing this? Who's doing that?
Yes, I had my mom, of course, she stayed with me several months.
Hey, Mom.
My sister came out, my dad came out to check on me. My brother did too. I had family that rallied around me. And so with them, I was able to get to the doctors, to all my radiation and chemo appointments. I was able to rest and just take care of my body, let my body heal. My daughter, it happened right before, my surgery happened right before the pandemic hit. So, of course, my mom was here to help me with my daughter with school and things like that. But I'm just so thankful for all the family and friends that even called and checked on me and said, do you need anything? All the well wishes. I needed it. I needed all the love, and I didn't turn down any of it, and I'm just so thankful and grateful for it.
Because you need that support emotionally,
Yes.
physically, mentally, financially,
Yes.
because everything changes.
Yes.
Everything changes. And so I think that was extremely dope that you had and what you needed,
Yes.
during the time that you needed it. And it
Yes.
leads me to you, Tierra Tuggle, because I want to talk about, as Pasha talked about, her surgery and not looking the same, going through some things with her surgery and the scarring. Like, I so love her title, Through the Scars, because a lot of times life will leave you with a lot of scars. Some are visible. I mean, you can see visible, some aren't visible, and so when I think about your chapter, Beautiful Barbed Wire. Now, I don't know if folks have ever tried to jump a fence before. A barbed wire fence before. I'm from the hood. So I think I might have did it a couple of times. And Lord forbid you cut yourself, right? So when you talk about a barbed wire, let's talk about that, Tierra. What does that beautiful barbed wire look like?
So for me, I was kind of hard on the outside. No one could kind of figure me out. They didn't know if I was, excuse me, nice or mean. I just put this. It was this barbed wire fence. They just didn't know, and I didn't allow people to come near to me. Get into my circle. I didn't allow it. But underneath it was something beautiful. I'm a nice person. I'm a loving person. And I had to understand or come to the realization that it's okay to let people win. It's okay. Some people may try to hurt you, but you just have to have that discernment, to see you who's really for you. So once I kind of released that, it was something beautiful.
But I think that comes from T. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine.
I think that comes from when I think about, since I got 3 PK kids on. I can't believe this. And I'm just drinking my good wine.
We not judging. We not judging.
I'm getting wine down, right? But Jesus turn water into wine, honey.
That's right.
And I'm here flowing. Let me tell y'all something. Don't mess with me. The Saints know not to mess with me. I wish somebody would say something. They know not to mess with me. But anywho, well, let me say this. Do y'all realize that the Catholic faith take real wine with their communion?
Yes, I went to Catholic school.
So don't nobody when I say nothing to me.
Growing up, we did too.
I'm Catholic today. I'm Catholic today. Okay.
We did too. Growing up, we did too.
Y'all took drunk real wine at leisure? Girl, stop playing with me. Y'all apostolic church didn't have no real wine.
Yes, we did.
Well, y'all wasn't talking about the color of my hair.
Used to burn my chest. Mm-hmm.
Goodness. That's funny.
Listen, but when I think about the beautiful barbed wire, and when I think about Through the Scars, Pasha, and when I think about Shattered and Not Broken, let me tell y'all something. Y'all know I'm a thinker, right? Mm-hmm. And in order to do this show, it was a lot of work. I might not never invite all 3 of y'all back at the same time because it was a lot of work. I had to get into 3 books.
Well, you're doing a great job, by the way. You're doing an excellent job.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. But when I thought about you Queens books, all 3 of your books together, I thought about the potter and I thought about the clay. And it's this one, you know how when we read scriptures, we kind of skip over things, but it's so funny because when I think about the story, the biblical story of the potter and the clay, it's one word that sticks out to me all the time, and that word is myrrh or myrrh, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you Google that word or you research that word or you try to define that word, it means contamination, right? And so I think about how the potter had molded the perfect pot, had molded the perfect, beautiful, beautiful clay pot that a designer could make. And then he gives it to someone and they mishandle it. And so sometimes they might have dropped it and it might have cracked. You get what I'm saying? Or somebody probably knocked it over and it probably chipped a little bit. You know, or somebody poured something in there and didn't understand how delicate or how dope or how spiritually exotic it was, right? And so people mishandle us throughout this journey. And I thought about each and every one of you through the scars, shattered but not broken, finding peace, piece by piece. And I thought about that because the Bible tells us that the potter literally broke the pot to remake it because it was so marred, it was so messed up, it was so contaminated. That he thought so much of it that he wasn't willing to leave it broken. He wasn't willing to leave it scarred. He wasn't willing to leave it looking discombobulated. So he just broke it. And so I thought about each and every one of you and how you all took the breaking. Y'all do realize that, right?
Yes.
Because I'm going to be honest with each and every one of you. I don't know if I could have been married to a man who didn't like women. And kept quiet about it and rocked out with integrity. Cause you already know I wouldn't have been quiet about that. I'm very private, but it's just some things you can't do to me because that was deceitful. That was trickery. That was witchcraft. You get what I'm saying? And so, and in Pasha, I'm gonna be honest with you. It was times that I wanted to throw in the towel. It was times that I felt defeated. So when I read your book or when I read your book and you talked about constantly rising, do you know how much faith that type of lingo takes? Do you know?
Oh, yeah. You have to constantly rise every day. It's not just, I'm going to get through this. And you just say it to yourself once or twice. It's every day I'm going to get up and I'm going to get through this. I'm going to make it through this.
That's what made your book so dope because you talk about rising from loneliness, finding support groups. Like, your book is so dope because you literally gave the blueprint for every cancer patient.
Yes.
Because they're gonna feel all of the emotions that you felt in this book. You talked about rising from depression, rising from fear, rising from cancer. Like, it's just so phenomenally dope.
Thank you.
That when you're welcome, sweetheart, I just love y'all. That when you're going through, that God uses you at your most ugliest, your most vulnerable, your most cruddiest moment.
Oh, yeah.
I'm quite sure you didn't want to talk about it, Tierra. I know you didn't want to put your business out in these streets.
Not at all.
So what you say when God told you to write that book at first?
It was like I was wrestling with them. It's like Jacob. I had to wrestle with the Lord. So I had to do what he said. So, and I did question him. I was like, this is going to cause a little ruckus, within the church, within, the community or whatever. So, but
Amelia.
yes. So I was like, I don't, because I'm in my mind, God is not a God of confusion. So I'm like, why would we want to do something like that? But
because your parishioners, minister, who you are leading, are sitting in the in the congregation, dealing with the same stuff you dealing with or was dealing with. That's why you had to talk about it. And that's why you had to talk about it, Cece. And that's why you had to talk about it, Pasha. And Cece, I'm just so shocked that, like, I guess I'm more hurt because I know you're over it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not. I'm not. It's just I'm being professional now.
Mm-hmm.
Call me after the show so I can tell you some words. But I know you was embarrassed.
Yes.
Let's talk
and
about
to be honest, sometimes it's still embarrassing.
Yes, you're still embarrassed.
Sometimes it's still embarrassing because it's like, how did you not know? I feel like that's what people will say to me. Like, how did she not know? So it's embarrassing, and for the marriage to come and go so quickly, and without every time I go around telling people all my business as to why we're not married anymore. I was embarrassed to go around people because I'm like, they're gonna be like, oh, she wasn't even married that long. What did she do? You know how the people are. What did she do? What did she do?
Listen, you should have had a letter in your pocket like my mother already had one in hers. Oh. Honey, let me tell you something. And I'm talking about, honey, she wrote everything out and she was not having no conversation. She just
pass it out. Pass it out.
Just pass you the letter, but I could understand you being embarrassed
yes.
for the simple fact that you bamboozled me. You hoodwinked me. You had me falling in love with someone who really don't even exist.
At all.
At all. And so I want to talk about why you said bye to Dr. Lisa.
Well, Dr. Lisa kind of said bye to us because he wouldn't change. He wouldn't do anything. And this was before I knew about the different lifestyle. We was having the no sex, all that type of marriage stuff that was causing us to go to therapy within the first couple weeks of our marriage. Mm-hmm. And after she was trying to guide us, after a year of no changes, no work, no work on his part, none of that. She was like, you guys' relationship is stagnant. Matter of fact, it's worse than it was when you started. She was like, at this point, I'm just kind of taking your money. He's not willing to do any work, any changes. He's not doing any exercises that I give him to do. At this point, to be honest with you, I'm taking your money.
And
so she kind of said goodbye to us.
Let's talk about this. So you sought professional help. Mm-hmm. As well as spiritual help.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the professional said do X, Y, Z, and he wasn't willing to do A, B, C. Nope. So y'all can get to X, Y, Z.
Nothing. The only thing he was willing to do was show up to say he went to therapy. And that was it.
And so, listen, I want to tell you, three queens, how phenomenal dope you are, because y'all know this hour just done went on by.
Oh,
Did y'all
wow.
realize that?
Wow.
Like, we got
That
like
was
a
fast.
couple of more minutes, but I had to stop this interview just to say this, because your courage, your transparency, your rawness, your realness is going to help those sisters that look like you, that come to church on Sundays, some that don't look like you. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so to have these conversations, Pasha, a dope hip hop MC, you still are. This is just a minor setback, honey. And what I love about God is, just because it came, it was not designed to defeat you, but
Right.
sometimes, and most of the time, to define you, right?
Of course.
I did not know that I could pray the way that I pray now. Let me say this. I didn't know I could pray past 5 or 10 minutes. But honey, when life start happening,
Oh yeah. You get down on them knees and you get into your
hours.
yes, you get into your zone, and yeah, you
just get into it, and then you begin to worship him in spirit and in truth. And so now I understand what the seasoned saints mean when they say things like, oh, well, if you ain't have trouble, you wouldn't know how to pray. You know, and so I think about everything that you queens endured throughout the book. Shattered but not broken. Let's talk about it. Where can the people find the book? The book.
The book. They can
book.
find it on my website, which is ameliaccfoster.com. That is Amelia.
Wait. I'm going to do something even better for you.
Okay.
Hold on. Because, you know, I'm a professional. Okay?
Yes, you are.
You said Amelia what?
Amelia CC Foster.
CC Foster at what?
.com.
.com.
That's it.
Okay, before you go there, Tierra.
Yes.
Where can they find your book at?
You can find my book, Finding Peace, Piece by Piece, on my website. And that is www.tierratuggle.com.
Hold on, because y'all know I'm old. And Queen Pasha, where can they find your book at?
My book, Through the Scars, Rising from Cancer, is available online on Amazon. You can type in the title of the book, or you can just type in my first and last name and it'll pop up. You can also order it on Barnes and Nobles online. And for the people who follow me who are out of the United States, you can order the book through bookdepository.com.
Oh, well, let me tell y'all something. So y'all really professionals, huh? I want to talk real quick. I want to ask this last question. Pasha, what would you say to the young lady or the man, because you guys do know that men get diagnosed with breast cancer as well. What would you say to that patient, male or female, who was just diagnosed? Pasha, what words of encouragement and advice would you give them?
Well, I mean, cancer, of course, is a very it's a hard thing to hear, but I would want to tell them, no matter what type of cancer you have, because of course my cancer wasn't breast cancer, but I would tell them, just hold on, hold on to God, hold on to your faith, learn as much as you can about your type of cancer, learn about your genes and genetics, learn about changing your lifestyle, your eating habits, look forward to life. Don't just give up because you've been given a diagnosis of cancer. And so even me, I made a board, a wall of people who have survived cancer. And so I look at that wall every day. Some of those people are family members of mine. Some of those people are celebrities, people I never met. But I always look at the fact that there are people who have survived, and you can survive too.
That's dope. Tierra, what would you tell that young lady who is just like you, who thought about protecting the image? And we're going to call what it is. Call it what it is, because that's the only way that we can really deal with it. If we call a thing, right?
Yes.
Who is so worried about image that they don't know how to leave that emotional abusive relationship or physical or mental relationship, abusive relationship? What would you say, Queen?
First, I would definitely say share with someone. And if that person can't help you, then you need to reach out to someone else, because I reached out to people. It was the wrong people. That was the issue. So, they didn't encourage me to talk to someone. So, it took for God to literally knock me down to say, enough is enough. If you don't get out of this, somebody's going to be dead or in jail. And I wasn't willing to figure out which one it would be. So my words of advice would be, if you're in that situation, get out. It doesn't matter, if what position you're in.
How many times did he say he was going to stop or change?
All the time. Like all the time. All the time. But it was we were this perfect image, at church. So
and
it just
I think that's what people get caught up on. Yeah. Not to cut you off, but as women, we get caught up on the image, the lifestyle, the money. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I know for me, when I was in my first marriage and my first husband was extremely abusive, broke my jaw, put a gun out on me, tried to shoot me a jam, fractured 4 of my ribs. I remember thinking to myself, what is everybody going to think? First of all, let me be clear. I heard God tell me not to marry him. While I was coming down the aisle, God was like, don't marry him. But I was so embarrassed.
Wow.
Like, how can everybody's here? Like, I can't not marry him. You know how much money I spent? It's those things, the image. And because I cared more about the image, I damn near lost my life. You get what I'm saying? And so, that image, I think we have to understand as people. This is why I don't like judging, because when we judge, we make it harder for people to be willing to come to us and share what they're struggling. Cece, did you find it hard? Just to find somebody to say, yo, look, my husband gay and I want out.
I did.
Was it hard for you?
It was extremely hard because it's that image thing again. Supposed to present having a loving marriage, young loving couple, had just gotten married, so it's that image of, oh, she can't keep the marriage together, or she's a church person. We don't separate, we don't divorce, we don't do that. It was and then just the embarrassment. I was embarrassed as to, like, how did I not know? How did I not see this?
Let me tell you something, and this is what, because I want you to let's kill that demon right now. I've been married to a man for 17 years. And there's a lot of things that I don't know still about him that I'm still learning. You get what I'm saying? So don't allow for that demon to torture you with that. How did you not know? How did you miss it? Honey, oh gosh. It's men that have 2 lives, two sets of homes, 2 sets of kids, and they wives don't know. So when you ask questions like, how don't I know? It's easy. It's easy because you have a lot of people who are willing to do anything to cover up who they really are.
Anything.
And like including bamboozling a woman acting like they straight. Tierra, I want to talk about, because we got 3 more minutes. Before I did the show, I did this, but I want to do it on air too. Yesterday, your grandmother, 103 years old, gained her wings and went home to glory.
Yes. Yes.
What's a word of advice or some wisdom she would say, she would share?
So since we're on the subject of, relationships and, things like that, you read it. My grandmother was in an physically abusive relationship for years. That's actually how she ended up in Baltimore, with her and my mother. But her advice was, if he ain't, if he, if something is slightly off, if he, talks down to you or something like that, don't allow no man to talk down to you or talk bad about you or anything. And her key was to living a long, wonderful life was just love God and treat everybody right. Yes.
CC,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
just recently lost your grandmother. Well, I don't like
I
to say
did.
lose because when you lose something, you don't know where it is. Mother Dunlap just
Yes.
recently transitioned and gained her wings. What's a word of advice that she would give you or give to the next young lady who was going through what you went through?
Well, seeing that she was my grandmother, most people know her as Mother Dunlap, but my grandmother would be like, baby.
That's how El Marie is. That's how missionary El Marie Ryan's is. Everybody else, she's a superintendent, missionary president. But when it comes to the granddaughters, it's baby.
She get to laugh and get them shoulders back. Baby. She said, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Not today. Do you think going through this, what about what you went through has changed you? What has changed about you? Because you just can't go through something like this and be the same, honey.
Oh, no. No, I don't live for image. I live for me. I don't choose my relationships for family or church or what people may think and say. I choose them for me. And that's just how I go about it now.
So you started living for you.
Oh, I live for me.
That's what's up. That's a life lesson.
It is.
That's really a life lesson. And do you know how many people haven't mastered that?
Right.
You have to be willing to choose you. Pasha.
Yes.
What's something that you talked about your mom a lot? What's something that your mother, some words of encouragement or wisdom your mother would say to you?
My mom would just always tell me to lean on God. That's the most important thing. And I think when I went through this situation, it just made me really just lay before God and just ask Him to walk me through this, to give me strength, to share my story, to not be ashamed or embarrassed, because again, all of us have personal stories and you don't always want to share certain things about yourself because you don't want to be judged. You don't want people talking about you behind your back if you can help it. People are going to say whatever, but, you try to keep it to a minimum. But again, she just told me to just lean on God, to just put my trust in Him. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Listen, I have enjoyed you queens so much. I want to shout you out, Pasha, because you're all the way in Arizona, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Tell the viewers where they can connect with you on social media and how to get the book again. I put it at the bottom, but I think I missed. Do y'all see a stream?
Yes.
Yeah, it's spelled wrong. Mine's spelled wrong.
Yours spelled wrong? Okay, come on. Tell me what did I do?
The CC is CECE.
Oh yeah, that is right, isn't it? I know that. Hold on. We can fix that. Okay, what Pasha is there something else that I was supposed to
yes, they can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Pasha, PASHA, the number 4, BEDROC. Again, you can find the book Through the Scars Rising from Cancer. You can order online on Amazon. You can order online on through Barnes and Noble. And if you're out of the country, out of the US, you can order it through bookdepository.com.
Oh, Tierra Tuggle.
Yes. You can follow me on Facebook or Instagram. Just type in my name, Tierra Tuggle. And you can also find me on or order the book on my website, which is www.tierratuggle.com.
Yes, Amelia CCK Foster.
Yes, the whole thing. On Facebook, I am Amelia CC Foster. On Instagram is at CC Dunlap. And again, my website is ameliaccfoster.com.
Ladies, I have enjoyed this conversation. I want to salute each and every one of you queens for your courage, for your transparency, for being vulnerable in a time where it's not cool to be vulnerable, but just for your ear to hear what it is that God needed the world to know about you, for being intentional. Because when you write a book with intent. And the intent should always be to heal and to be impactful. You know, so I am so honored that you wind down with me. And although, you know, because y'all are preacher's kids, let me clear it up. Let me clear this up. Ain't nobody got y'all people drinking. Hold on. Let me clear it. Nobody has anybody drinking. Cece, what were you drinking on, Cece?
Oh, like she said, I don't drink, but I do have a sparkling grape drink.
Yeah,
so I kind of forgot to
Tierra
sip on.
Tuggle, were you drinking on anything, Minister?
I had tea. My throat from screaming in church today. But my cup says I saw this and I said, well, I have to get this for the show. It says she had all the royal makings of a queen. So I thought that was so
Tierra,
cute.
you have to give me one of those.
Yes,
That's
I'll go
nice.
back and get one. Yes.
Pasha, what were you
Oh, I'm drinking on some good old H2O, some water.
So y'all let me drink this wine by myself. Y'all literally let me wind down by myself.
I got you, Tara.
There you go. Let me to you, queens. Put y'all water and everything up. May God enlarge your territories. I'm excited about your books. May you sell out and become #1 authors, bestsellers.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Tyra.
You're so welcome.
Thank
I want to close out on this, and it says the shifting. As you are shifting, you will begin to realize that you are not the same person you used to be. The things you used to tolerate have become intolerable. When you once remained quiet, you are now speaking your truth. When you once battled and argued, you are now choosing to remain silent. You are beginning to understand the value of your voice, and there are some situations that no longer deserve your time, energy, and focus. Queens, thank you for finding your voice and for writing your books. I am Tyra Hill. I am honored to be talking to author Amelia Foster, Shattered but Not Broken.
Thank you,
Pasha, Chaney, Through the Scars, Rising from Cancer. And Tierra Tuggle, Finding Peace, Piece by Piece. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Please feel free to go back over the show, rewatch the show, share the show. But next Sunday, I will be here, the same place, same time, but with different guests. We're talking the state of the Black community, mental health in the Black community. I'm bringing on the professionals so we can talk about it, because we have some healing to do within the Black community.
That's right.
Queen, I love you.
Thank you, Tyra. Love you.
Down with me. I appreciate you guys.
Bye.
Me and my girls, just like it down. Talking this and that while we're fixing each other's problems. Queens lying down. Me and my girls lying down. Talking this and that while we're fixing each other's problems. Queens lying down. It's a wrap. Me and my girls, just like it down. Queens wind down.